One of the leading voices that has appeared there many times. He celebrates as Yuval Noah Harari. He's a historian, teaches history at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Listen very carefully to his dream of what this is really all about. And ask yourself, do you think this is over?
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. All this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news.
Did you hear that?
All this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. And, I think that fake news have been with us for thousands of years. Just think of the Bible. But there's don't have any answer in the Bible what to do when humans are no longer useful to the economy. You need completely new ideologies, completely new religions, and they are likely to emerge from Silicon Valley or from Bangalore, and not from the Middle East. And they are likely to give people visions based on technology. Everything that the old religions promised, happiness and justice and even eternal life, but here on earth with the help of technology and not after death with the help of some supernatural being.
Will spend more and more time playing virtual reality games that will give them much more excitement and emotional engagement than anything in the real world outside. And this is actually not a very new, this is not a completely new idea. You can say that for thousands of years already, people, millions of people, have found meaning in playing virtual reality games. We just call these games religions. If you think, what is a religion? Another way to understand a religion is a virtual reality game. They tell you there are these laws. So you should pray 5 times a day, you should do this ceremony, you should do that ceremony. If you follow these imaginary laws of the game that exist only in the imagination, they're not part of nature, then you get points. If you break the laws, then you lose points. And if by the time you die, you have a positive balance, then you move to the next level, heaven. And people have been playing these virtual reality games very happily for thousands of years. So why not in the 21st century?
Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself. Because today, data is the most important asset in the world. Now data is replacing machinery as the most important asset. And if too much of the data becomes concentrated in too few hands, humanity will split not into classes. It will split into species, into different species. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. There is a lot of talk these days about hacking computers and email accounts and bank accounts and mobile phones, but actually we are gaining the ability to hack human beings. Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being? You need 2 things. You need a lot of computing power, and you need a lot of data, especially biometric data. Not data about what I buy or where I go, but data about what is happening inside my body and inside my brain. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. We are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design. Humans are developing even bigger powers than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life. COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. What we have seen so far, it's corporations and governments collecting data about where we go, who we meet, what movies we watch. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. We're now seeing mass surveillance systems established even in democratic countries, which previously rejected them. And we also see a change in the nature of surveillance. Previously, surveillance was mainly above the skin. Now it's going under the skin. Governments want to know not just where we go or who we meet. Above all, they want to know what is happening under our skin. What's our body temperature? What's our blood pressure? What is our medical condition? I think maybe in a couple of decades, when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
Yuval Noe Harari, the top advisor for Klaus Schwab, explaining that the Great Reset is here to put surveillance underneath our skin. I just want to how do you even unpack that?
I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. I don't think we have an economic model for that. My best guess, which is just a guess, is that food will not be a problem. With that kind of technology, you will be able to produce food to feed everybody. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless. My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
What does class really mean? So like in the past, right, the masses, the largest class, like I guess you could say, were needed by titans of industry, right, to power industry by either working in mines or factories or things like that. But now we know that we're moving into this phase of, the fourth industrial revolution, as the World Economic Forum calls it, which is, automation nation. They don't need human workers in the factories anymore, people that complain, that have needs and all of this stuff. They've made it very clear that it's all going to be automated and going to be either entirely digital or done by robots. And we're already seeing industries across the board start to interject way more robotic or AI-driven workers and starting to phase out their workforce, supposedly because of COVID-19, right? But that definitely shows you that they don't need us anymore. and that they know that in a few years, if things keep going the way they're going, they can treat us as the global useless class. And obviously that terminology implies that this useless class will be inferior to the not useless class, and that the divide between this useless and useful class is going to widen ever more. And he goes on to talk about that in different terms a little bit, but it's, you know, it's important to point out that if there's a useless class, there will remain a class that is, you know, its counterpart, the useful class, at least in the eyes of the establishment.